the Red Sox have officially started to dwindle down their 40-man and opening day roster. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. If you watched my earlier video today, you would know that these are coming, but officially, the Boston Red Sox have made their first roster cuts. Now, I did say in that video that I would only be making a second video today if anything surprising happened with these cuts. Nothing really surprising in here, but I gotta tell you, we're gonna do the video anyways because I can't stay away from you guys. So we're gonna break these guys down one by one, why they may have been cut and what their future could look like. And we're gonna start with, in my opinion, the biggest name that was cut in this round of cuts for the Boston Red Sox, and that was Yostin Garcia. Now, this isn't exactly an incredibly surprising one. I don't think anyone was really expecting him to make the Red Sox opening day roster, although I will say he did not fare well in spring training with the big league club. In 21 plate appearances, he struck out 10 times, only had one hit, and did not have a single walk at all. I wouldn't go panicking about those statistics just yet or panic about who this prospect could be. A couple of different reasons. One, he's never faced any pitching outside of Double-A in his career. During spring training, according to Baseball Reference's opponent quality metric, he was really facing a lot more upper level type arms, mostly Triple-A, Double-A arms. He only has 30 games in Double-A. Yeah, it kind of makes sense that he struggled just a bit in his first experience in Major League Camp, but that's the second thing, right? This is just his first Major League Camp. There's probably some nerves. There's probably a whole lot of getting to know things, trying to get into a routine. For a young guy, it could be a little bit difficult to settle into that. And three, at the end of the day, spring training statistics mean absolutely nothing, right? It doesn't determine whether or not a prospect is good or not. Prospects can make a name for themselves in spring training, but if prospects do poorly in spring training, it shouldn't deter you from who a player could be. Overall, still a really rough spring for Yostin. I would assume that that was a big reason why he sent down so early. But again, if we're talking about, oh my God, I can't believe they cut Yostin, guys, he's still going to be on the 40-man. He's still going to be in the Red Sox system. He's just going to be playing with the minor league players this spring as opposed to the major leagues players to finish it out. And that's always where he was going to be. He was never going to be on the opening day roster. And that was the only position player that was cut, which I think is kind of interesting, but it also does make sense considering they have a lot more pitchers in spring training camp than they do position players. I would guess position players are probably going to get more apparent as we get closer to opening day, but let's talk about these pitchers first. The other sort of bigger name, I should say, that is a part of these cuts was Luis Perales. Yeah, this one is very clearly not a surprise, right? Luis Perales isn't even throwing in games yet. He's still recovering from Tommy John surgery. I get a question all the time of where he's at in his recovery. There hasn't been a ton of news on it. What we do know is that he is throwing, again, at least minimal distances, certainly not from a mound or anything. And the overall prevailing theory is that we probably see him back in everyday games in 2026. Obviously, this dude wasn't making the Red Sox opening day roster, right? Again, this one is just sort of he's on the 40-man, so you got to have him start in Major League Camp, get his picture taken, start meeting some of the guys, right? Start integrating himself with this ball club because of his position on the roster. But yeah, this one, it was never going to happen. He was never going to make the opening day roster unless an absolute miracle happened. And yeah, the Red Sox don't play in miracles, so Luis Perales, one of the bigger names that was cut, and for very clear and obvious reasons. As for the other guys, Giovanni Moran was sent to minor league camp. This is a dude that, I gotta be honest, I didn't really remember was a part of the Boston Red Sox. I would assume a lot of you guys are sitting there going, who? It was a pitcher that was picked up, a left-handed reliever that was picked up this offseason when they traded Mickey Gasper to the Minnesota Twins. If you don't remember that trade, welcome to the club, but he was a pretty interesting arm. If you go back to looking at what he could do at the major league level in his first full season in the big leagues, he had a 2.21 ERA and a 1.78 FIP in 40 2/3 innings with the Twins. That's a really intriguing lefty. He didn't get any spring training time though. And the reason for this is because, kind of like Luis Perales, he is recovering from Tommy John surgery. Now, he had that back in 2023, so this year is really the year he gets back onto the mound. But because of this, he still isn't throwing in games. And again, when you're talking about, okay, how can we kind of shave off the fat a little bit of this giant roster that we have for spring training, the guys who just simply can't stay on the mound right now are going to be the guys that end up going down to minor league camp, right? He was always going to start the year in minor league baseball. This is where he's going to start. So not really a surprise again there as well. He now gets to just sort of focus on his rehab and getting ready for the season in AAA, but definitely an intriguing arm to pay attention to. With that kind of year in 2022 at the major league level, there might be something here for Giovanni, but we'll have to wait and see. First step first, he needs to get healthy. Moving on here to some other names. Robert Stock was a name that was sent down to minor league camp. By the way, a great follow on Twitter. If you just look up Robert Stock, he's on Twitter. He talks a lot about baseball perspective and just sort of his mentality on the mound. Very fun guy to follow on Twitter. He will not be starting the year with the Boston Red Sox. His spring training with the big league camp didn't exactly go as I would assume he would have hoped. It's really not a big sample size, which kind of sucks, right? You don't get to see these guys flushed out a bit. It was 3 innings, 4 earned runs. I will say he was missing a bunch of bats, though, with 4 Ks in those innings as well. Again, it felt like this was always going to happen. It feels like it's hard for me to break these guys down fully because this was always the plan, right? Robert Stock was picked up as an break glass in case of emergency depth reliever that was most likely going to spend a majority of his season, if not his entire season, if everything goes perfectly at the big league level in minor league baseball. It makes all the sense in the world that, again, you're the major league club, you're the manager, you're the front office, and you're sitting there saying, okay, how do we take 57 people and bring it down to 50 people or whatever? You're always going to start with the guys who you know aren't going to be on this roster, and Robert Stock was signed as a guy who you knew wasn't going to be on this roster. I am kind of intrigued to see where he falls in terms of, hey, oh my God, we need a guy to unarm for this series against the Dodgers this weekend. We need someone who can take some innings. Let's go to our depth options. I don't know where he's going to fall on that list. Certainly some intriguing stuff with that swing and miss. So we'll sort of see where and how the Red Sox utilize him in a bullpen role in Worcester this season, and then what sort of pecking order he's on when it comes to depth pieces for the Red Sox. Brian Van Belle was the next name that was cut. I kind of feel bad for Brian. He only got 1 inning of work with the Red Sox, and the reason I feel really bad about it is because it was terrible. He gave up 2 home runs and 3 earned runs in that 1 inning. He's kind of been one of those guys who's been that, okay, back end of the Portland rotation, back end of the Worcester rotation for a while now. But I will say, I'm kind of intrigued by Brian. His ending to the 2024 season was really, really interesting. Once he got into sort of a full-time bullpen role, in his last 10 games with Worcester, he had just a 1.08 ERA, and that was over, I believe it was like 26 innings. I'll put it on screen for you guys right now, but that's not exactly an incredibly small sample size. There may be something to him being a full-time reliever, but again, he falls under that break glass in case of emergency type role, and that's exactly where he's going to fall. I feel like I also need to point out, for those of you who aren't super familiar with how these cuts work, it mostly just means they're not going to be on the Boston Red Sox. It doesn't mean they're not in the Red Sox organization anymore. They are going to still be in the organization. They're just playing with minor league players instead of major league players this spring training. So they are more than likely, or definitely, not even more than likely, definitely going to start the year in AA, AAA, wherever. It doesn't mean they're off the Red Sox. I feel like I always get 1 or 2 of those comments like saying something like that every single year. That's what ends up happening with these roster cuts. And then finally, of the first names that were cut for Boston, Jacob Webb rounds this thing out. He actually looked pretty good this spring in his limited appearances. It was no runs in 2 2/3 innings, 1 hit and 1 strikeout. I would assume the biggest reason for him being cut early is because he's just simply not major league ready yet. He's only had 3 innings total in AAA up until his invitation to big league camp. Those 3 innings, they didn't look exactly fantastic. So I would assume even if this guy does look good to the Boston Red Sox, they would still want him to really prove that he can play in AAA before he comes up to Major League Baseball. So this one, I don't really know if it was more of a, this guy's a break glass in case of emergency, or more of a, hey, we just want to continue to help you develop. We're going to put you with guys who are in similar situations. We're going to put you with coaches and staff that are dealing with the same type of stuff here, trying to get these guys to the next level. That way we can really sort of hone in on some of the stuff we want you to work on without having you to go against, as we get into spring training here, real major league starting lineups. I think that might be more where the Red Sox are headed with these. So overall, these were the cuts of the Boston Red Sox. I think it was 6 names in total, if I'm remembering correctly. The Red Sox roster is now officially down to a mere 57 players, and that will just continue to get dwindled down until there's 26 for Texas and 40 in general. Again, these aren't exactly, oh my God, I can't believe the Red Sox did that, right? It's not that type of roster cuts. When we're gonna see those type of cuts over the next couple of weeks, right? As we get closer to opening day, bigger conversations are going to end up happening. We're going to start to see more impactful names on these lists, but there were still some impactful names on here. And I'm just addicted to giving you guys as much information as humanly possible. So, of course, I had to talk about them regardless of what names were on this list. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about what this may indicate about future cuts. Let me know what you think about who actually got cut. Is there anyone on here you are surprised about? Is there anyone on here who still intrigues you despite being cut from the Major League roster? Let me know all your thoughts on the first Red Sox cuts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Just simply helps these videos out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, like I said this morning, you can always listen to these episodes in podcast form by heading over to your favorite podcasting app and looking up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.